Welcome back from the break. If you're just joining our show right now, we're talking about challenging conventional wisdom and is it necessary for everyone to get married? We had Sabeen Mahmood on the show before the break. And who else could we bring in than Zahir Kidwai to get the male perspective on that? Hi, Zach.
Not much point in getting me to bring a male perspective when I'm very supportive of the female perspective.
That's true. Well, can I say a very balanced perspective and not just the male perspective?
I don't know if many people think I'm balanced, but anyway.
That's debatable. That is debatable. That's true.
Okay.
That's
yes,
so
but we'll
good.
go ahead.
Yes.
Why? So your question was why should people marry, or?
Yeah, I mean, is it necessary?
Is it necessary?
Is it necessary for everyone to get married?
No, it's not necessary. I mean, it's certainly not a biological necessity or a scientific necessity or anything. And when you say marriage, by that you mean within the context, let's say, of our country or
Yes,
things. Because
absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about a nikah and whatever, if you're a Muslim, or if you're a church marriage, if you because all other forms obviously are not acceptable either to the criminal code or to Islam or to Christianity or whatever. So is it necessary? Would mean, is it necessary for people religiously inclined to go through the ceremony that they want to go that they have to go through?
Yes.
Perhaps only because it's legal that way. There's no other necessity.
There isn't.
You know, I mean, there is necessity for people to live together, and there are societies which are not religious where people cohabit. There are societies like America where people still cohabit, and it's accepted by law as well. So it is increasingly not necessary to go through a marriage ceremony, although living together is the equivalent of marriage, I suppose, if you've made commitments.
But Zach, over there, I mean, you know, read any magazine. If you just take human nature for a second, even people abroad, you know, there's this whole debate now of how society is going in a certain direction where people are living together for years and they're also having children. But in a lot of cases, the women still ideally would like to be married to that man. A lot of men would also then like to get that, you know, to sign that form and just be like, legalize it. And it's an emotional thing as well. It's not just the legal, you know, how do you balance that then?
I'm not at all in agreement with this.
Really?
Because I think that when you think of what women feel and think, we mustn't forget the years of history that's made them feel and think certain ways.
Absolutely.
It has been security for them in some ways. They've been asked to love, cherish, honor and obey, and it's become an intrinsic part of the thing. You get, when you're born, bachpan say, you know, it's I'm going to bring a great groom for my daughter. There's going to be Prince Charming. There are all these external...
They never tell you about the jerks of the world, do they?
Yeah, I mean, there's always this Prince Charming, etc. and stories. These are all little marketing angles to get a husband. But when you think of marriage until very recently, even in our society where it's not your choice as to who you get married to in still a number of cases, how can it be a woman's desire to just really love anything and anything that comes her way? Parents choose, they sell their daughters. It's not been very long in other societies where this has constantly happened. There have been child marriages. Do you think this 6-year-old girl who gets married in South India at one time, etc., is really desirous of a husband just now?
Not at all.
Not at all. So I don't think there's any truth at all. I mean, within the thing that, of course, if you've been brought up on reading true romances and other stories, and that would affect you. And men who've been brought up in this age of chivalry where they would suddenly pick this woman up on a horse and run away and think it's a great act, although it would be kidnapping in any decent society, would also accept that as heroism. I mean, certainly most heroic deeds in the books are terrible. So I don't think it's a natural phenomenon. It's certainly a conditioned phenomenon. I don't know. The biological necessity I can understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And again, other reasons, for example, that I cited, for example, procreation.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, because legally that's the only way you can procreate in many societies, fine. And does that mean that if somebody is known not to be able to procreate, let's say before marriage, if a boy and a girl or either party knew that they can't procreate for medical reasons or whatever reasons, should they never be allowed to get married? No. But in that case, it's very clear that that could not be the prime reason. So this is all confusion caused by the way marriage has been packaged and sold.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about, you know, how I was having a conversation with some of my female friends about this, of how you are brought up in this sort of mythical, you know, fairy tale world, expecting the best out of everyone, expecting that, you know, you'll do well in your life and you'll be pretty and things will be taken care of you, people will be nice to you, you will find the perfect love. Obviously, I'm talking about women who can choose their own husbands in this society, who come from slightly more liberal backgrounds. And that doesn't happen. Why is it that our upbringings or our upbringing is not more realistic? Is not more be careful? Or,
as part of media that you are,
yes,
you air advertisements.
Selling
None
a
of
dream.
them sell anything other than a dream.
Yeah.
Nobody turns from black to white on the 30th day when that particular cream stops acting or anything else happens. Nothing like that happens. You actually fool people in order to market. In the old days, I mean, not very old, and in Europe as well, and not just here, I mean, people, rich especially, married their daughters off for political gains and partnerships.
Yes.
And, counts and dukes and kingdoms, and Richard II marrying 9-year-old somebody or the other, Isabella, or whatever. So all that happened for political reasons. Now, if you're going to get this little girl of 9 or 10 or 12, 13, and say, I'm going to send you off to this beast somewhere, what are you going to sell to her? I mean, she's going to go crying. She still does. But she's going to go crying mainly. And then you say, this is going to be a great life. You're going to have this. These guys are going to love you. And then you have these little stories of marriage. And they lived happily ever after. That's how all the fairy tales end. But the stress should be on fairy tales, not on the
But
happily.
that's the point, that there's no differentiation between the two.
There isn't.
There's no divide.
And the divorce rates today show that they don't all live happily ever after. But because either there is economic independence or at least some mental independence in the woman who can take that step and possibly live alone. I mean, it's very, very difficult. But she takes that step very reluctantly, with great difficulty, but she takes it. To say that the divorce rate has gone up today is only to say that, okay, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, they were forced into marriage.
Absolutely.
If my great-grandmother's period, somebody wanted to divorce and came out, where would she go? I mean, what would she do? She'd be killed, probably. So that's the way it is.
But there's, something that actually annoys me personally. I find very, very irritating. You get into so many arguments with people that, oh, it's gone to the other extreme now. And I think it's fantastic and it's wonderful that women are financially independent and they can make that choice if they want. They don't have to be stuck in unhappy marriages.
That's it. The divorce rate is not happening to marriages. The divorce rate is happening to unhappy marriages.
Exactly.
There's a major difference.
Good point. Such an
important point to think of. I mean, nobody I know of who's been very happily married saying, I want to walk out just because I like divorce more than marriage.
More than marriage.
I haven't come across many invitation cards for divorce parties, for example.
Yes, that's true. But how do you deal with, this constant argument that started that people are flippant now about the commitment, and marriage does take a certain level of commitment, does take a certain level of compromise. Any relationship does, I think. Why just call it marriage? But
it's not just about marriage. It's about the way whole society is moving in a number of things. Commitments should be commitments when they are meant. Most commitments in the past were not commitments that were meant. Take political commitments. I mean, we lived thousands of years in India together. Our commitment was that we would form a separate Muslim nation.
Yes.
Bangladesh had the same commitment as East Pakistan, but after a little while, they had a different goal, aim, whatever. So it's not that they broke a commitment. The commitment was not workable anymore, right? It's not.
Yes.
Okay. And there are, around the world, there are commitments that were made because they were politically either expedient or the only options available.
At that time.
And they do break away. Businesses have been committed for a long time and they move away. Alliances are formed differently today. People who committed to a particular religion broke out into a sect because they didn't agree the way mainstream was studying and they wanted something else. So there are Shias, Sunnis, Protestants, Catholics, everything. This is nothing to be frowned upon. Independence is the most important thing to human beings. Also, because no man is an island, they'd like to group together. Yes. So maybe you and I will break away from a particular society to form another club, another group of friends. But then as we progress further and grow further, there'll be more commitments from me to me and you to you, which may produce a rift. Marriage is no different. And today, largely, I mean, one could laugh and say the chief cause of divorce is marriage.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
So the point is that, I mean,